Welcome, beautiful people, to our video on the feminine success secrets the gurus don't want you to know about. See, for years, probably like you, I've followed the gurus, whether they be financial gurus like Susie Orman or gurus of online success like Gary Vee, and nothing against it, but it just felt like pulling boulders up the mountain or kicking against the tires or swimming against the flow in a strong river. It just didn't work for me, or if it was so hard, it required so much energy that it wasn't worth the effort. And of course then the gurus blame you, blame me, blame us. Well, you haven't tried harder. And nothing against it, it may work for them. The problem is, it works for them, a particular type of personality, and they expect us to follow it. And they have successes to show for it, so it's seemingly proof. But what if that proof is only for one type of personality? Most often a very masculine driven personality, more about the personalities in the moment, and not for us. And then we blame ourselves. Not only have we been had by following strategies that don't work for us, by white knuckling and expending energy where it's like again swimming against the stream, but now we also blame ourselves. A triple trap. So this is called escape the guru trap. Well, how did I come about this? Because I worked and lived in Hollywood for 3 decades. And I also had my own film school. I worked as a producer. I was a professor at UCLA, Pepperdine and Chapman, at some of the top universities when it comes to studying cinema, not making films, but studying the art of storytelling and studying the art of success. What makes a blockbuster? And beyond that, what creates the transformation in the hero or heroine? See, in Hollywood, what makes it so unique is not a story about change of the environment. Instead, in a Hollywood film, the heroine starts at one place, and the whole purpose of the story is to show her character arc, her transformation. And when she emerges at the end, it is truly a greater person, someone who has learned, someone who has expanded who she is, has typically contributed to the community, to society, to others in the process, and comes out a bigger, better, more successful version of herself. The problem is, a lot of times these stories involve gargantuan efforts on part of the hero or heroine. They have to battle giants, they have to take on horror monsters and take on sometimes corrupt societies and the villain. Well, what if you didn't have to? What if you could experience a transformation, come out the other side? It's joyful and fun. I call it the flow, fun, and flashlight. Flow is for ease. Fun is to have fun, not working against the stream. And flashlight is finding out how you can turn your potential blind spots into your strengths, your weaknesses into your strengths. But hold on, before we dive deeper, I want you to know how the system came into being, but wonder where this is actually coming from. And so hold on, I'll tell you right now why this is so powerful. And I leave a link for a quiz you can take, because it deals with individual personalities. Instead of one fits all, you find out what your personality is particularly apt at, what your strengths are, what your potential weaknesses are and how to turn your weaknesses into potential strengths. And since I'm a Christian, I just want to make absolutely clear, this is not astrology, it's not woo-woo. Instead, this is based on ancient myths that first started working with these human personality traits. And much of modern day psychology is actually based on that, because the ancients knew about human psychology. They understood on a far deeper level how humans tick. And storytelling is in a sense hardwired into the human brain. We understand ourselves. We understand society and the world around us through story. We make sense of problems that occur through story. It's no wonder the Bible is full of stories. And if a particular character was particularly dense, like David after the Bathsheba debacle, and he wouldn't see his blind spots, he didn't see his weaknesses. The mirror that was held up to him by the prophet Nathan was through storytelling. All of a sudden, David recognized himself, and all of a sudden, the blind spots fell away and he saw himself in truth. And luckily, there is, after all, a happy ending for David, where otherwise, if he didn't have the story and the character that he could identify in the story to show him his blind spots, there would have been a much different outcome. But let's take it to modern times. Again, because I worked in Hollywood for so long, I dissected storylines, I dissected how the Hollywood movie industry works and what makes successful films. And I've brought this to this program. Interestingly enough, I discovered that top-level executives in many of the major corporations, from Amazon to Apple to Disney and more, are trained in a model very similar to only the top executives have access to, and at the cost of tens of thousands of dollars. Well, look no further, because I've made it accessible. I have a condensed course, the Weekend Mindset Reset, where I bring in all these elements. It is based on 8 different personality types. And see, the gurus most often represent the accumulator. But if you're a maverick or any of the other personality types, if you follow the accumulator's success formula, it fails you. And as we said at the beginning, you end up wasting time, energy, money in a way of approaching success that doesn't work for you. Well, we end this here. And underneath, you find a link to a quiz where you can find out your top personality type. Even in the Bible, it talks about how each one of us has been given special gifts, different gifts. Even in the Bible, in 1 Corinthians 12, it speaks of how we all have been given different gifts. And yes, it says to desire the higher gift. So it means in many ways we shouldn't just sit on our gifts, as the story of the talents in the Bible tells us, but develop them, make the best of it and hone them so that we can be the shining diamond that we are. And this leads us to the first success principle, because you don't have to dig up mental blocks. See, most of the gurus advise us to ferret out, seek out, dig up our mental blocks hidden in the past, as though there were some buried treasure leading us to our best self. I find this a distraction. I find it often useless, and it keeps us focused on the problem instead of the solution. Even when we find out our blocks, it's almost impossible to get rid of them. Instead, use your weaknesses or potential blind spots and turn them into strengths. How? Well, each of the 8 personality types has strengths and potential blind spots. Once you're aware of your particular personality type blind spot, you don't have to ferret out the blocks. You already know these are potential weaknesses. But then you can turn them into strengths by either reframing them. Like one client of mine said she always got into trouble for being too honest, too genuine. But then she reframed it. What if she didn't care what people thought of her? Because genuineness is, after all, a treasure. And instead of being offensive, she can use that potential blind spot and just speak genuinely, but in a more pleasant way. Or sidestep your weaknesses altogether, outsource them, give it to someone else who is strong in that area, and you emphasize your strengths. So no more digging up blocks, hidden mental blocks to your success. Instead, know your strengths and your weaknesses. Turn your weaknesses into strengths, or sidestep your blind spots, because now you know where your potential blind spots are, and swiftly sidestep them. No more fighting uphill. There's much more of that in the Weekend Reset, where you can find out how to navigate around these blind spots. Ditch the guru's success principle 2. Never dismiss your fears. How many of us have been taught and trained to dismiss our fears because feel the fear and do it after all? Or in so many trainings, we are taught to not trust our instincts because everyone deserves to be treated equally. And while in principle that is true, trusting your instincts can save your life, and it is proven so. Women in particular who have been subjected to SA assaults had reported that previously they felt something was wrong, but they felt too shy or too programmed into trusting everyone that they should not evade that person, that would be a prejudice. So much training in the corporate world in particular recently goes into distrusting your instincts in favor of a larger ideology. But it is proven that people that feel something's awry and change lanes, change streets, go into a shop, have been proven to be saved from attacks that others who didn't follow their inner instincts were subjected to. But how about in business? How about in our everyday life? How about when it comes to success? How does fear help us? Fear isn't a flaw. Fear isn't a prejudice to overcome and to override your instincts. Fear is a flashlight in every area of your life. Instead of asking yourself, how do I get rid of this? Ask, what part of me is waking up? Because fear is the unfamiliar. And sometimes it's justified, such if we are in danger. And other times it's a sign that we're facing an outside our comfort zone experience. Instead of blindly charging ahead, let's use our fear as a flashlight to show us the path. For the 8 personality types, each one experiences fear in a different way. For each one, another primordial fear is often triggered. For the celebrity, it's not being seen, not being heard. For the maverick, it's being caged, the loss of freedom, the fear of losing freedom. For the ruler, it's the fear of losing control. For the romantic, it can be the fear of losing connection. For the nurturer, it is not being needed, which almost feels like no longer being in existence to the nurturer. For the accumulator, it's not having enough money, not having enough connections, and just not having and being enough. For the alchemist, it's being misunderstood. But while this shows us the root fear of each of the archetypes, for each one, there's a unique situation when he can dig deeper into that fear and find out how he can shift it into a powerful path forward. Secret number 3, which resumes what we've said at the beginning, growth doesn't have to be a grind. In fact, fun is usually the way forward. Fun is a business strategy. Joy is magnetic. Joy magnetizes everything to you that you desire, including people and clients, opportunities, connections. Ease is effective. Once you're in your flow, it seems like time stands still and you can easily tap into your unique strengths and maximize them. Fun isn't fluff. Fun is fuel. And in my Mindset Reset program, we dig much deeper into how you can leverage fun in your success. Part of secret number 3 is ditch the discipline illusion. If it takes arduous discipline instead of being fun, it's typically a red flag. Discipline, of course, is a good thing, but remember when you felt the joy of discipline, winning a particular contest, it felt good. When discipline becomes a chore and you fear it daily, that is a red flag and you can use it to your advantage. Stop bullying yourself and start realizing you're not lazy, you're just misaligned. Again, once you stop fighting your weaknesses and embracing instead your strengths and accept your weaknesses or sidestep them, the discipline illusion falls by the wayside almost on its own. Let's see what secret 4 holds for us. Success that looks like you is secret 4. Almost all of us have fallen into the trap to chase after someone else's idea of success because we're told that makes us happy. And this is why I'm particularly interested in working with women over 40, because most of us have done what society told us is required of us, what would make us happy, and nothing wrong with that. But now we are ready to redefine success for us. See what the romantic seeks as success: beauty, comfort, leisure, living beauty in their everyday life and spreading this beauty to others is not the same as what an alchemist looks for. For an alchemist, success is transformation. They love bringing 2 different things together and creating a third. There's a link below. You can take the quiz to find out what your top personality type is. So stop chasing after someone else's success. Pat yourself on the back that you have achieved something even when you chased after someone else's success. But now is the time to give yourself permission to go after your own success. Of course, it's Easter week, or whenever you're watching this video, is the perfect time for renewal, a sort of resurrection of the buried parts of ourselves we didn't allow to come to the fore, we didn't allow to shine. Now it's time to let that be the guiding light forward, to resurrect, in a sense, the rejected parts of ourselves. Last secret for today, it's very special. Secret number 5, your story is a strategy. Your life story, the story you tell yourself, is a strategy. And you can rearrange how you tell the story to yourself. And it's never too late to shift into high gear, to shift into the second act where you might have been stuck in the first act, the problem. But how? How do you shift into another story? Years ago in Los Angeles, there was an old lady who was sort of my mentor. And she always said to me, don't live in the problem, live in the solution. It exasperated me. I loved this lady. And yet I couldn't at that time understand it. What? I have the problem. I kept saying to her, how can I live in the solution when I have the problem? It seemed to me like a denial of reality. Nowadays, I know what we focus on increases. The more we focus on the problem and the story we tell as a problematic one, as one ridden with fear and pain, defeat, deceit, and downturns, the more that becomes real. But the more we focus on the solution and live in the solution, these very same things flip into triumph, into self-discovery, into self-development, into creating success for ourselves. It becomes the stepping stones for this new version of us. See, from cradle to grave, we are not the same. We have so much influence on who we become. So oftentimes we are told that just be yourself. I find this another myth, quite frankly, because then you can say to someone who is a cruel person, just be yourself and embrace that. I find that unacceptable. Desires are malleable. Desires, the more you focus on a negative desire, such as an addiction, the greater it becomes in your life. The more you focus on the solution, such as healthy living, the more that becomes prevalent in your life. The more you focus on a weakness, the more that weakness takes up space in your life. The more you focus on a strength, that comes to the fore. But you can reframe it. You can live in the problem, or you can live in the solution. You can write your story as a problematic one, or you can write your story as a triumph. So I hope you work with some of these concepts as we move forward into this beautiful spring season. And if you need more help, there are some links below for prompts, or you can sign up for the weekend mindset reset. You can do it in 3 days or do it leisurely. You can do it over again several times, and there are different ways to play with the prompts. It's designed to be fun, flow, and flashlight. See you in our next video.